Okay, hey guys. My name is Leon, and today I'm gonna be doing my personal rankings of all the Big Brother seasons. That is from season 2 to season 21, which was last season. Season 1, I'm probably gonna put in the very bottom because one, I didn't watch it. Two, is when the game was completely different, more a fan vote scenario that you see in Big Brother UK or Big Brother Australia, for example. So I decided to not include Big Brother season one. It'll be on the list, but it'll be on the very bottom. So what I decided to do with the season rankings, my personal rankings, is to rank from season 2 to season 21. Once again, also side note, I didn't rank Big Brother over the top or any of the celebrity Big Brother seasons. Because one, I think I didn't watch Big Brother OT. Second, I don't know. That would be kind of weird. It's not that the game is completely different from those seasons to like a normal Big Brother season. I just didn't feel like, I don't know. I feel like it was a little anomaly, a little different from a normal Big Brother season. But with that being said, let's get to the rankings. I have a list on my computer on my right side of me. So I'm gonna be looking to my right or basically yeah. So you're gonna see me to my left, but I'm looking at my right side to see my list of rankings of how I place each season of Big Brother. There's a lot of factors. One of the factors is how's the season being perceived. Um, the gameplay of the season, likable characters, all kinds of like factors. But most importantly, this is my personal ranking. So my list will probably be a lot different from some of the lists that are out there. So let's say, example, people to season 9, for example, it'll be on bottom of a lot of people's lists. I might have a little bit higher, but with that being said, let's get started. So my least favorite season, yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention, we're gonna start from the bottom. So we're gonna start from my least favorite to the most favorite. But with that being said, let's just get to it. So my least favorite season of all time in Big Brother history is Big Brother season 13. Uh, there was a few reasons why. One reason is like a lot of my favorites, Keith, Dominic, those are players I wanted to root for, but they got taken out early. I just feel like also, someone like Evil Dick, who's somebody I enjoyed watching. He also went out early for medical reasons, unfortunately. Um, it was kind of not only was it a boring season, but it was kind of like a season rigged for the veterans. Like one of the veterans that was in the game because they had six veterans. They had Brandon, Rachel, Jeff, Jordan, Dick, and his daughter Danielle, or Danny as they call her now. I feel like the season was rigged for one of them to win, and I don't know the newbie side of things. It wasn't as strong as the veteran side. The veteran side of the um of the season, the veterans seem to be way more advanced and way more skillful in the strategic sense. Not to say all the newbies sucked, but I just feel like the newbies couldn't figure out a way to outplay the veterans. I feel like they was being outplayed by the newbies, and I just feel like I said, it was a bit too much for the veterans to win, and it wasn't enjoyable. It was kind of boring after some of my favorites left. But I guess let's move on. My second least favorite season is Big Brother 15. I really most of it is because a lot of the racial stuff that happened there, like stuff that happened to like Candace, stuff I said about Helen, Howard, and a lot of other stuff that's been unfair. Like I don't know, it was just a lot of disgusting, people in that cast. Not all of them were bad, but it was some unruly behavior in Big Brother 15. So with that being said, Big Brother 15, like I said before, a lot of the problem I had with Big Brother 15 is they had a lot of racial undertones and other horrible behavior that happened in that season, and the gameplay was okay, but a lot of kind of like with Big Brother 13, a lot of my favorites or people I wanted to root for went out early. Like Nick was somebody I was rooting for. He went out early. Howard was somebody who's, I was rooting for, went out early. And players that didn't make the jury, they got taken out early jury, like Judd, Helen, for example. And the gameplay was solid, but there's a lot of racial undertones, a lot of bad behavior, a lot of my favorites going out early. So and the strategy was good. The strategy was solid that season, but other than that, that was the only good thing. Big Win 15. And after a while, I just kind of stopped watching halfway through the season, and then came back and watched. And the final two, Annie was clearly the best player that season. Maybe Amanda was second best player, and Helen could be second best player too. I don't know. It's a tie between them. Anyways, and he played a great game. It was just that as soon as he got out, I would say Judd or McCray. There's no way Andy was losing that season after Judd or McCray got taken out. There's no way Andy was losing after that. And as long as he got to the final two, he was winning. So I don't know. Andy played a great game, but everything else in that season was kind of bad. But with that being said, let's move on to the next some of my least favorite seasons. I'll say the third worst season in my opinion, and this will be controversial because some people like the season was this season's Big Brother 20. Big Brother 20, I was kind of it was more not the gameplay was bad. The gameplay was okay from one side. Level six dominated that season. It was more of a frustrating season to watch because someone like Swagger C, who was actually a super fan, was also black like me. I wanted to see him do well, but in Big Brother 20 was just a frustrating season to watch. It was just frustrating that one alliance essentially took themselves out. They turned on each other too quickly while the other lines just steamrolled. And seeing Swaggy C get taken out week two by his own lines was hurtful, was like bad to see. That kind of stopped my period this season. And then it didn't end there. Fezzi turning against Scotty. It was just I was very frustrated by the gameplay that season. Like I'm glad level six dominated. It's good for them. And when they did lose members, they lost members who weren't crucial to their line. So it was okay for them to lose like a Winston or Rachel because they didn't need Winston and Rachel. But the core four, they also had Sam, they had JC, and the core four. I mean, I'm talking about Brett, Angela, Casey, and Tyler. Those they dominated the season, and they had help from the Forte High. They went at each other, and it was just a frustrating season. And KC is a good player. I'm not saying Casey's a bad player. I like Casey's social play. I like her physical powers strategically, and I think from an all-around perspective, I think Tyler played a lot better. Tyler was a better all-around player. It's just that Tyler did too much, too much of a like try to promise too many people final twos, and that essentially hurt his jury chances. So, but I still think Case played great game. Tyler was just more a strategic presence to me, and not say him losing was a bad thing. Like Casey won for a reason, but Tyler to me would have been a more optimal winner for me for that season, since we've seen a lot of the moves he's done, and yeah. But yeah, Big Brother 20 was a very frustrating season. Um, Next season that is slightly above it, and this is gonna sound another controversial one, is Big Brother 21. I put Big Brother 21 over Big Brother 20 for this reason. I feel like, yes, it has a lot of horrible people on the cast, a lot of, just like Big Brother 15, a lot of racial undertones and bad behavior. But the difference there, I think Big Brother 21 has stronger gameplay from not a few, but from a decent amount of people. You could say Chrissy, Tommy played strategically well. Jack is a Jack is a not great person. Same Jackson. This is called instead of saying Jackson, I would say Mickey. Mickey, from a strategic level, played great. He's has flaws as a human being. Him and Jack have flaws. Mickey and Jack has flaws as human beings, but game wise, they played decently or better. Like Jackson's move on setting up Tommy and the lie, he basically had Tommy set up to be brought out final. Is it final five? Yeah, final five. I think that's a good gameplay. Like, say what you want about the cheating, say what you want about the Waterman, say what you want about Mickey's ratio and bad behavior he did to the other house guests. Mickey's has a lot to learn as a human being, obviously, but as a game player, he was a decent game player, above average player. Yeah, he's a horrible person, but he played well, and that's something you cannot deny. Um, it was a different season, and a different person was sitting next to Jackson. He probably would have lost like Paul or like Tyler, for example. But he was sitting next to Holly, and Holly, even though Holly didn't say hurtful things like Jackson did or did execute like bad behavior, Holly's perception went down, and that's why she lost. But with that being said, Big Brother 21, kind of like with Big Brother 20, and another season I'm gonna talk about after. It was just like I was a frustrating season. Nicole Anthony is one of my favorites, but she was playing a good underdog game, and she I was surprised she even made it third place because a lot of times she had no leverage to do anything. She was just she lost people who she worked with, and then she was just down to basically Cliff, and then she had to pick up allies, and she played well there in some cases. In other cases, she was not outplayed, but it like didn't have the room to maneuver in certain areas of the game. So I'll say that. Um, but yeah, basically, it was frustrating to see the watch from a bad behavior, racial undertones statement, but the gameplay was more interesting in Big Brother 21 and Big Brother 20. And now, and when I'm talking about gameplay, I'm talking about mid-season gameplay. Early season gameplay, boring, whatever. I wish David, Ovi, and Kemi lasted longer in the game and Sam. Like all the pre-jury people that went out pre-jury, with the exception of probably Isabella, were people I wish that lasted long in the game. Maybe Isabella, not really Isabella is terrible, but like the other people that got taken out pre-jury, I wanted them to last longer. And that sucked that they didn't. But with that being said, let's move on. The next season I have is Big Brother 19, and before you say, "Oh, Big Brother 19 should be lower than Big Brother 2021," here's this. Yeah, it's a horrible. Like Paul did a lot of horrible things in that season. The way he treated Dominique and Jessica, and with Cody kind of too, but Cody also had his moments. The reason I put them above Big Brother 20 and 21 is this: the gameplay, even though it wasn't great from everybody, it was interesting. Paul dominated that season. Christmas, like it has some entertainment value, right? Josh, even though he's not, Josh is a decent winner. Josh knew, like, it's kind of like Steve Big Brother 17 and almost Ian Big Brother 14. Like they knew they didn't have to be the best player in that season. They just knew about position, and Josh, for the most part, knew what his role was in that season and waited to take the right person to the end and did things and script out messages. And now it's interesting strategic gameplay. Yeah, say what you want about Josh as like as his his outbursts and stuff like that. Josh has insight and decent strategic maneuvers. So Josh knew Timo, Chris, and Paul would get him far. He made himself as a proxy goat, so that he called people out and made himself into a person that people want to take to end. And when he got to, and he won enough competitions to put himself in decent positions. And when it got to final three, he rightfully so won that competition and took out the right person with Christmas. Because who knows, Christmas could have won. Christmas could have beaten Josh. Christmas could have beaten Paul. Christmas, for who we know, could have been more likable than both of them. Because Josh and Paul was both at that point unlikable by most of the jury. They just didn't like. They just hated Paul more than Josh. So that's the point. Yeah, that season had a lot of humor. Yeah, the behavior was bad. The gameplay from a lot of the cast was bad. But not all the players played bad. Some players played decently. Cody and Jessica played well from what they was given. Cody and Jessica didn't have a lot of room to maneuver because of what happened week one. Did have some enjoyable moments. above Big Brother 20 and Big Brother 21, so that's why I put Big Brother 19 ahead. The next season I will put next season I will talk about is Big Brother 3, which is next on the list. Why Big Brother 3 is this low? It's kind of simple. Big Brother 3, if you try to rewatch it, it's kind of a boring season. Like, yeah, Big Brother 3 had, like, Lisa was a decent winner. Daniel Waiter should have won, whatever. But Big Brother 3, to me, it was kind of like boring. It didn't really have much off in terms of like, and I'm not looking for Big Brother to watch drama, but it could have some interesting drama highlights. I don't know, something to make the season interesting. And Big Brother 3, when you rewatch it, when you watch it live, it's more interesting than watching it. Like, when you watch this, it's like you get bored. Like, that's why I never really wanted to watch Big Brother 3 on a rewatch, because I just feel like I'll be bored of that season. The characters were okay. Daniel Reyes played a great game. Jason played a good game. It was kind of a boring season. Lisa was a good winner, and I don't have really much else to say about the season. So, and speaking of Big Brother 3, before I move on, there was I would say Big Brother 3 and the next two seasons I talk about are all lumped together. It's just that Big Brother 3 I had the least, I felt less excited about it than the other three seasons that above it. So let's move on to next season. Big Brother 4, which ironically came out of Big Brother 3. Big Brother 4 to me, and it's not a season I would rewatch either, but it has some interesting storylines, interesting parts of the season. Like, pre-jury was a mess. I would say that it was like a mess. Like, the fact that David got taken out pre-jury. Dana's HOH, and now it's on Dana's HOH. Dana was an interesting player. She really shook up the house, and I think that made the game more dynamic from that point. But before that, there was like an eight-person, the first eight people, and then five other people that came in that was ex-boyfriends or girlfriends to five of the people that was in eight, so that made 13 in total. It was good to watch the Three Stooges, which was, I think, Robert, Justin, and G. It had some humorous moments, some interesting moments. John and Addison were a decent duo. They were good floaters. They played a solid game. It's just, for me, the reason I put it, this low is just because it's not really, interesting on the rewatch. It's better as a first watch. You first watch, you go, ooh, this is interesting. But when you watch it again, you just like, you was interested like I did. With that being said, let's talk about the next season. Big Brother 5. Big Brother 5 was kind of, it's not a bad season. But like, Big Brother 5, I feel like was more interesting than Big Brother 4. Big Brother 4 was a decent season in terms of like some humor, drama, whatever. Big Brother 5 had that and slightly more. The Four Horsemen Alliance, um, the oh crap. Okay, I didn't mess up. Okay, the Four Horsemen Alliance. Um, that was the first season where they had the official backdoor set up by Nokomis. I think the characters in Big Brother 5 were better than the characters in Big Brother 4. I think the people I got like the people in Big Brother 5 were more interesting than the people in Big Brother 4. The alliances were interesting. That was the first season with Twin Twist. I just feel like Big Brother 5, from a cast standpoint and from a play kind of gameplay standpoint, was more interesting than Big Brother 4. And that's all there is to say about that. Let's move on to the next season I have listed. Big Brother 2. Big Brother 2 is like one of those seasons that you don't want to rewatch, but when you watch initially, it's like the first season. It's basically the first season. I feel like after Big Brother 1 is a parody, whatever. I feel like of the current game, like the HOH, ruling people out, having a jury to a committee of house guests, whatever, to decide the winner. Big Brother 2 is a first season to do that. And I feel like, personally, if I was, if you wanted to watch and see how the season started, was Big Brother 2. Dr. Will was one of the best players of all time. Um, Top three, if not top three, top five, definitely. It's just that he couldn't win challenges, but he didn't need to win challenges. He downplayed his self. He downplayed himself as a player. He went not under the radar, but he made himself a weaker player so that people would want to take him to end. He made himself a hated figure so that people would think they could win against him in the jury. And then he did a switcheroo and explained his game, and he got the most to win. So he played a great game. Some of the casts were interesting. Some of the casts was kind of duds. That's why I have it kind of low, but it's kind of not really low. It's kind of mid pack for me. That being said, um, I'm gonna move on to the next set of seasons, starting in season 17. And before you said why is season 17, I feel like season 17 is like a middle of my season ranker. So yeah, so Big Brother 17. I don't want to put. I cannot put it lower because the cast is actually really interesting. The gameplay was actually solid. Vanessa was a great game player. Annoying, in some ways, like she would cry a lot, but it was part of the gameplay. She masterfully played the house, and she was one competition away from winning the game, and she just couldn't do it. So I would put her as one of the top 10 non-winning players of Big Brother players all the time. I don't know if she ranks a whole lot of Big Brother players for me, but I really like her gameplay. Steve was a solid winner. Kind of like what I said with Josh, he knew how to maneuver himself. He knew position. He knew he had to hide behind other players. Kind of like I said, kind of similar with Josh and kind of Ian. They knew that they didn't have to be the best player, that they just had to align themselves with the best player and let. Actually, you could kind of say for Casey too, in a way. But Casey was a better physical and social threat than Steve. But Steve was a good winner. He knew what he was doing. Alliance with Vanessa. He knew that taking out Vanessa too soon would make him a threat and make him lose numbers. So that's why he kept Vanessa as long as he did and alliance with Vanessa as long as he did. And Smiley took out in the final three. Um, Sees the cast is interesting. I like the cast. It was kind of a messy cast in terms of gameplay pre-jury, but when you go to the jury, a lot of the pre-jury players, like it was more of a fluid house. That people forget, like there was never really a solid alliance structure until you get to the jury. Then you see Austin and Liz and Shelly and Clay. Well, Shelly is gone by first manager, and after Shelly's gone, you see like solid alliances basically. I feel like the pre-jury stage, they didn't really have solid alliances. Yeah, there was a group of 3, 4 people work together, but they would work with different sides, and they would try to like be the middle kind of thing. But it's kind of similar to other seasons too. But anyways, Big Brother 17 was the big 17 was the biggest example of that. So it's a season to watch. It's not my favorite. It's not my least favorite. So let's keep going. Big Brother 8 is the next season I want to talk about. Big Brother 8 is one of my seasons, one of my favorites to rewatch. Like watching it, I don't think did I watch it live? No, I didn't. I didn't watch it live. When I rewatch it, it was really interesting. Every time I rewatch it, I find out something new about the season. The characters were solid, interesting. Daniel was a comp beast. Danny, my bad. Danny was a comp beast. Evil Dick was a decent. You could say he's an all-round player if you think about it. Yeah, he was aggressive, but he was decent socially because he kept it real. Decent at the comps. And yeah, physical, social, and he was a good strategist. He wasn't like terrible strategically. He played good strategically. He knew who to take out at the right time. Evil Dick's a good player, and I think that season is pretty solid. Um, Next season, Big Brother 11. I really like that season. Like, I love it on the rewatch. Like, watching it live, it was a lot of things I missed, and kind of like Big Brother 8. Watching the rewatch, you can see, like, you watch that particular season. It's just like from an entertainment standpoint, it's really entertainment. Um, there's a lot of things about season I like. The characters, I think, is one of my favorite casts in terms of characters. Characters like Jesse was a character. Even some of the pre jury people like Casey was an interesting character. Um, Ronnie and even those who made the jury were interesting characters, like Lydia. Obviously Jeff. Jeff who does the interviews for. I mean, he hasn't done the interviews recently, but Jeff who done the interviews for some of the more later seasons is in there too. Russell's a good, not Russell Hans, but Russell who's the I think the some kind of athlete, whatever MA, whatever he does. He was a good player and good character too. Chima, like it was like from Canada's standpoint, it was really entertaining to watch. Like gameplay wise, it could be better, but the gameplay was hilarious. The gameplay was good in some places, bad in other places, but it made sense. With that being said, let's move on to next season, and this next season is another controversial one. Some people will argue it's to be a lot lower, but I put it high because I enjoy it on the rewatch, and this is actually the next season after Big Brother 6 that I watched live, and that's Big Brother 9. Big Brother 9 is the second season I watched live. Tune into Big Brother 8 p.m., 9 p.m., whatever day it was. I know it was a winter season when the strike happened. The first few weeks, I don't remember that, but after rewatch now, I can't remember what went on. But I remember rooting for James, Crazy James. I remember him rooting for him like I was rooting for Kesa at the time. It was so fun to see him come back and say what you want about him, say what you want about some stuff he does outside the game. He's actually a interesting player, good player, comp beast. The characters were cool. You had Sharon, Josh, um, what's that girl's name? Not girl. Sheila, Natalie, etc. Adam, the winner. Um, Ryan, you have a lot of interesting characters and players. And it's one of the seasons that I enjoy rewatching because it's strategy wise is not great, but it's very entertaining and very good to watch that season. And I don't think it's as bad as people think. Yeah, the couple of twists isn't great, and that it was bad for that season. But I think Big Brother 13 did the couple, not couple twists, but it did the twin, like the dual twist worse. So whatever. Big Brother 9 was probably the season that introduced the dual twist. So actually, no, it was Big Brother 8. I'm lying. No, Big Brother 4. Big Brother 4 was the first season that had pairs of people that knew each other, or people that worked together. Whatever, doesn't matter. Next season is Big Brother 6, the first season I ever watched a Big Brother ever. The season I first watched live, the season where Kesa, Janelle, Rachel, Howie, Sarah, I know Sarah's not with James anymore, but Sarah, and then James, those six, the Solomon six, I was rooting for them hardcore. I was sad when Casey got bowled out. I was rooting for him to come back, and he did. And then the Friendship Alliance, I mean, say what you want. Not a lot of people like them. They were okay. I like the Solomon six better than the Friendship Alliance. But the Friendship Alliance did play well, get rid of the Solomon six. They did a lot of good strategic things well, and it's good that somebody for the Friendship Alliance was the rightful winner. Even though I preferred it to be Case or Janelle winning that season. Maggie played well. She deserved to win. Is what it is. But it's nostalgia, one of my favorite seasons. There's no way I was ranking it this lower than this. There were some issues with that season. It was a season that I think I stopped watching part of it, and then I got back into it. Because remember, this is the first season I watched live, so I was really upset at the time when I was younger that Casey got taken now, and I was like, I don't know. I just remember the reaction, man. I was like, oh my god. But anyways, season 6, one of my favorites, man. Anyways, let's move on. Next season, I think this is the top 6. Yeah, top 6 that I left. The next season that barely missed it out, the top 5 season for me, and this is gonna be controversial, but whatever. All Stars, Big Brother All Stars 1, season 7. The reason why I have it just outside the top 5 because Mike Boogie as a winner is a good winner, and I remember we said part 1 when he threw the chance, hey, one of these girls gonna take me, and I did not know where that quote come from. Then when Richard Hatch from Survivor season 1 says, "Oh, that's where Mike Boogie got that thing from." Anyways, Mike Boogie was a good winner. Yes, there's some stuff that came out about him now that isn't great, but we're not gonna talk about that. Um, the cast was decent. Some of the pre-jury people, like the Dianes, not Erica was second place. The Allisons, the Dianes, the Comas, and even in a way, Jace, they couldn't, like Big Brother season 4 and season 5 people were kind of screwed over. They had no way to maneuver. It's just the season 6 and the Chill Town lines just decimated those guys, with the exception of Erica, probably. Um, After that, then that's when the season gets really interesting when you see the Black Widow lines with Daniel Reyes, James, what you call Will, and Mike Boogie. You have people like that making a. There we go. When you have people like that making a big play lines, taking out the solid six. Sucks to see Casey go home early again. Then you have Marcellus go, and then rest is history. It was a fun season to watch. I did not watch it live. I went back to rewatch it, and I was so excited of how the season went. Dr. Will play is amazing. I really enjoyed watching that season. Um, there were some things I didn't like in that season. Like, like I feel like if you were season 6, you would have taken out Chilltown. I think Chilltown, Chilltown, Mike Boogie, we don't talk to each other no more for, you know, whatever. Well, not whatever reason. We know the reason they don't talk is legal stuff, whatever. Um, Anyways, Chilltown, I feel like should not have got to the final four. They were great alliance, but I feel like that's a detriment to everybody else in the cast. Like, how could a group of all stars didn't decide to take out the most dangerous alliance? I think. Yeah, season 6 was dangerous, but season 6 hasn't have a winner in their group. Chilltown has a winner in the group. Anyways, it was a great season to watch. Good to see some of your favorite early season players and winners come back. But with that being said, let's move into the top 5. And this is another controversial one. The next season I'm gonna put after season 7. This is number 5 for me. Big Brother 18. And before you're surprised, but why is Big Brother 18 super high? Here's why. One of the most entertained seasons of all time. I enjoy watching it, even though gameplay wasn't great all the time. I think this is one of the most interesting casts of all time. This is the first Paul season. This is where they had the 4 returnees: Nicole, Frank, I think Devon, and James, Asian James, Short James. I think those 4 is a perfect cast choice. All of them are different and dynamic in their own ways. And then the characters, other people who they casted with them was great. Jose was entertaining for his boot. Victor was a count beast. Paulie, before he turned a little crazy, Paulie was somebody who I wanted to win and I enjoyed watching. Um, like Bronte, Natalie, even the earlier boots and some of the mid jury boots were great to watch, even though they didn't have any strategy going on. You know what I'm saying? Zakia, uh, Bridget, all the players there they brought something to the cast. And Michelle too, forgot her. There was no duds in that cast. Every single person in that cast brought something. Even Glenn, who was the first boot, brought something interesting. And I think Big Brother 18 is their best casted season overall. Like, in terms of newbies and veterans, I think it's the best casted season. And then even Tiffany, Vanessa's sister, and probably was Cody from Big Brother 16's brother, probably Cafe, Koi Cafe, whatever. Best season in terms of cast. Gameplay, yeah. Like, Paul should have won because I think Paul. I like Nicole Franzel played great, but Paul played better. Paul should have won. But it is what it is. Nicole played well enough to win and had a good Jerry manager to win that, where Paul didn't. I like Paul's game. It is what it is. With that being said, not my fourth favorite season of all time is Big Brother 16, Derek season. I It's the best strategic season of all time. Yeah, it is. Well, one of the best. One of my favorite strategic seasons. Derek, you can argue he's in the top three. He's my. If we will get, I might if I wake a Big Brother winner ranking list. Derek's pretty high. It could be probably number two, number three, and maybe number one. Who knows? But Derek played well, and I think that cast is top heavy. You have Derek, Frankie, Cody, Calfrey, Caleb. Who else? Zach. Uh, there's a lot of top heavy people who were good that season. Even Nicole, who came back from Big Brother 18, Nicole Franzel, that's what I'm talking about, was winning Big Brother 18. When she played Big Brother 16, she made jury, and she came back in the comeback challenge, and then she went out after Donnie got taken out. So she played great. She wasn't like this is before her reputation went where it went. You know what I'm saying? Her first season, she was like a normal super fan, a normal, nice nurse from Michigan, and she was like, the super fans like us. It's just sad now, based on rumors, whatever. People don't like her as much, and they think her gameplay is whatever. But people see seen her gameplay. Yeah, she was a minority, but her gameplay wasn't that bad, and her gameplay was never bad. It's just her perception is not as best. And then even Christine, someone like Christine is a great casted choice and decent player, and she made an optimal move by, even though she tried to say Amber, she trusted the boys, and it's good to her that she trusted the boys because that way she knew the boys would take her far, but she had no idea that the boys was gonna take out as soon as they did. But it is what it is. Um, Donnie was a great cast choice. Devin, the big former baseball player, was a great choice. It was a great boss guard, detonators, hitman. One of my favorite two-person lines, Cody and Derek of all time. Yeah, man, it was a great season. Anyways, let's move on to my number three, my third favorite season of all time, Big Brother 14. Big Brother 14, I can rewatch that season all day and all night. It's another great casting choice. I think I said Big Brother 18 has the best cast in terms of like entertainment. Big Brother 14 is up there in terms of entertainment. There's no real duds in that season, entertaining wise. Yeah, the strategy it wasn't great that season from a couple of people, but the coach, the coaching twist was pretty interesting. The four coaches I think, were the correct coaches. Yeah, you could add Will in place of Mike Boogie, but Mike Boogie is a winner, so Mike Boogie was fine. Dan, Janelle, and Brittany were all good coaches. Um, yeah, man, Ian was a good winner. Ian was a unique character too. Shane, Danielle, like every person casted, maybe except for like Jodie, unfortunately, got took it out week night one, so she couldn't show anything. Um, Kara was Kara was kind of boring; she couldn't do anything. Like, but everybody else casting right was pretty interesting to see and watch, even though they played the game terribly. They were at least characters and entertainment to watch. Like Joe, Scooby the Diver was really good. But with that being said, let's get to the final two. My second favorite season of all time, Big Brother 12. Big Brother 12 had obviously one of the best strategic. Um, I don't want to say it's best strategic cast because I feel like there was a few people that didn't play well strategically, but majority of the people that were casted, they either played very well strategically or they knew what was going on. Like they had a decent idea. Like Annie, who was the first boo for Savitar, she was competent strategically, just that other people knew how good she was, so they got rid of her. Krista, or Kirsten, whatever her name was, wasn't well strategically. Andrew knew to hide behind like alliance of a Brendan, and by proxy Rachel. He was decent strategically, and I think only Monet and what's her name, Monet and Kathy were I think the only two duds in that season, but everybody else was great. Obviously, the Brigade, Enzo, Lane, Hayden, Matt, great. Reagan, Brittany, fantastic casting. Great strategically players, entertaining to watch. Um, the twist that was supposed to happen, they got axed week one because the person part of the twist was already voted out. It is what it is. One of my favorite seasons to watch, and season that's and is one of my favorite strategies that I watch. You know, it was a four-person core. What they did as a core to bring in one extra person with them outside of the lines was very strategic because it made sure that they, even though there was just the four of them, they always had a majority because they always said, hey, they had three of those four guys had another person on the side to be, hey, vote this way with me. We're gonna do go far. And to most points, the outsiders, which was you could say Kristen, I think it was Kristen, uh, not Enzo, Kristen, Reagan, and Brittany were the three outsiders, like of that brigade. Kristen was always gonna vote with Hayden. Matt was always gonna vote with not Matt. Reagan was always gonna vote with Matt. Brittany was always gonna vote with Lane, and Enzo was just by himself, whatever. But they that strategically that was one of the best seasons I've seen play out, and I don't think we're gonna get lines that's particularly like that happen for a good while. I mean, big with the Canada Seven when they created their own version of Brigade called Pretty Boys. It's pretty good, and it was close to it. But it's one of my favorite seasons. My second favorite season of all time. I just enjoy um, the strategic powers of the game. The characters were decent. Brendan Rachel was a polarizer figure, and it was good to watch them. But it's good to see a showmans fight their way out of trouble pre-jury and get to jury together. But with that being said, my favorite season of all time, whew, Big Brother 10. I love Big Brother 10. I love it. It's my favorite season of all time. It's the third season I watched live. Yeah, third season I watched live. Like I love seeing Dan play the game. Love Keisha. I'm glad she's back for All Stars. I love Memphis. I'm glad he's back for All Stars. Michelle, Jerry, Lenny, April Nolly, Libra was great from a character standpoint. Jesse, this was Jesse's first season before he came back for Big 11. Brian, who I was sad when he got backdoored. I mentioned Jerry, right? Yeah, Jerry. Even the Steves and the Angies of the world were interesting to watch. You could say that they were kind of like I don't say they're duds. I just feel like they didn't have room to maneuver because of the way how the lines were set up and the fact that they had some relationship with Brian. Either way, Big Brother 10 on my favorite season of all time. I think watching that season locked me into Big Brother and seeing a likable figure like Dan win the game. And it sucks that Dan, when he came back from Big Brother 14, couldn't win because he was already a winner. Um, and maybe think about like Dan always knew how to play Big Brother. He always did the optimal move, and every part of the game in both his seasons, Big Brother 10 and 14, with the exception of, you could say, probably the funeral. The dance funeral was a great um, strategic move to get himself out of the block. I feel like he should have threw somebody else under the bus. Like instead of Brittany, he should have kept Brittany long enough. If that's the way how they was gonna vote, that they was not gonna vote for a winner to win, then that really sucked. But anyways, Dan win his first time is amazing. I love the Hitman. The Hitman. No, oops, ooh, my fault. I love the Renegades. See, I get the lines mixed up. The Renegades Part One with Dan and Memphis. I really love that. I really, really, really love that lines, and I like that Dan and Memphis committed to each other. I mean, partly one of the reasons they commit each other. Obviously, America's him being America's play for that week was great for Dan's game too. But Dan played it well. I think either way, he would have either aligned with Jesse or Memphis. I think it would have been like with Jesse, it probably be the same. He might have ended up winning that season too. We'll see, because I feel like Jesse not say Jesse would went 7-0, but I feel like Jesse would probably got like if the same thing happened and let's say Michelle and I don't know. Either way, it's just too complicated to think about now. Daniel's a great player, one of my favorites of all time. I'm so happy that to watch him. Not so happy that I'm so happy that he won that season. I'm glad. I'm glad to have watched him play and to watch him come back for Big Brother 14 and for the coach Twitch to have him come back is amazing. And he's on Twitch now. He's doing his Twitch thing. A lot of people in that season was great. I'm shocked that someone like Michelle hasn't come back yet. Michelle's a good player. But yeah, with that being said, that's my season rankings. Remember, this is a personal list. This is not a list that I feel like should be like broadcast everywhere. This is just how I feel of my enjoyment of watching Big Brother every season. Big Brother also is out now. Plan to try to my best to do a recap of each episode. Um, it'll be hard, but I'm gonna try my best to do one. But let's see how it goes. I just wanted to make this video about my season rankings of seasons that I watch Big Brother, and I might do a couple other rankings here or there soon. So just look out for those. And I just want to say thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Okay, I guess bye.